Hello, guys, and welcome to Odds on Coppa Italia, Odds on Supercoppa. We have a lot of games, well, a lot, 4 games in this midweek in Italy. We have Derby d'Italia, and we have, of course, Dani Fisichella. Ciao, Dani, how are you?
Ciao Edu, really well. So yeah, midweek Cups, Super Cup, first trophy of the season in Italy, the Supercoppa. So the winner of the Scudetto, Inter, against the winner of Coppa Italia last season, Juventus. Derby d'Italia, biggest game in Italy for sure. The game with a lot of passion, a lot of tension, but there are also 3 Coppa Italia games for the round of 16. Other 5 games next week, of course, postponement and COVID permitting.
We will focus, of course, in this Derby d'Italia in the Supercoppa. So let us know what is your prediction for this game in the comment section, or ask any question to Dani. And don't forget to press the like button and subscribe to our channel. Now, let's go on with the show. Dani, Supercoppa, first trophy of the year. As you mentioned, we have the winner of the Scudetto, the winner of Coppa Italia. We have Inter Juve, the highest rivalry in Italy. And the first thing we have to look, of course, is the outright market. We will analyze this game, all the possibilities for betting. And as you can see, Dani, Inter is really favorite. Along the season, we are seeing a very strong Inter, especially in Serie A, and a Juventus very weak defensively, plus the addition now of the injury of Chiesa, key.
Yeah, key for him. Shame for Chiesa. Shame for the national team of Italy. He will be deeply missed. Look at the odds on the screen. Now, if this game had been played in the summer, as it used to be a few years ago, I bet the odds would have been the other way around. Let's not forget, Juventus were 1.85 favorites to win the Scudetto before the season started. What happens in them? Well, that reality hit Allegri and its men, the lack of goals, the lack of chances created, the fact that they couldn't replace Ronaldo properly, and also the fact that this is a team that sometimes plays too much on the back foot, very passive, and we saw that for 70 minutes in Rome. They were dominated by Roma. Roma played one of the best seasons of the game of the season so far, up to the 70 minutes, because Juventus, yes, weren't really convincing, as they haven't been so far this season. But then what happened? Juventus, when they got the backs against the wall, when no one did give them a chance, as it happened already this season. For example, think about the game against Chelsea that they won, they had a lot of absentees, they still managed to beat Chelsea. Well, they show that character, and some of the substitution that Allegri made helped. Having Locatelli running more into the box, of course, helped. He's been brought to play as a regista, probably is not his role. And then, yes, Juventus in a game full of mistakes, in a game that was crazy, where neither of the team really deserved to win. They emerged winners from the ruins almost of the game. But let's not forget, they could have drawn. Szczesny saved the penalty. In the end, they were reduced to 10 men. So positive reaction from Juventus, bad start, but still that shows you why they are not the favorites. They are 11 points behind Inter in the table. Last year they finished 13 points behind Inter. Inter still has a game in hand. How did he finish the previous meeting in the league? Was 1-1. Inter dominated, but that was back in October, dominated for 60 minutes. Then they lost the balance, they lost the shape, a bit of fatigue, maybe a little bit of fear of winning in that one. I remember the changes of Inzaghi didn't really add to the team, but actually detracted them. In the end, Juventus had a very contested penalty in the dying minutes of the game and drew the game. Now it's different because Inter, of course, come into this game much more confident, top of the league, 51 goals scored, the good win against Lazio, a win of character, 16 different scorers so far in the season for Inter. So they have the maturity, the calmness of team that won the league recently. So, high scoring Inter, Juventus, although they've not been scoring as much as last season, this is a team that you never have to underestimate, especially in the difficulties. And they do have those 25 minutes, 30 minutes within games when they can score you a couple of goals. But yes, they will be without a lot of key players. Chiesa, De Ligt, Quadrado, maybe Bonucci, surely without Danilo. So my first tip for this one would be a high-scoring game. And I think, for high-scoring game, you can look at over 2.5 goals together with above to score. So above to score and over 2.5 goals. That's a sort of a mini ACCA 360, very high odds. But so you could bet half a unit, for example, because the odds are quite high on this one.
If we check the stats, actually 58% of the games of Inter ended in over 2.5 goals. For Juve, we see less goals in their games. 37% only of their games ended up in over 2.5 goals. Danny, as we can see in the odds, as you mentioned, of course, Inter are huge favorites. It's a team that is way easy to trust. The thing is that the head-to-head between these two teams in the last years is really favorable for Juventus. Only one victory for Inter in this last year. For instance, they also met in Coppa Italia last season. Juventus won. Is this something also in this Derby d'Italia that is going lately to the Bianconeri?
Well, I think the history of the recent years says Juventus have been by far the better teams. This is a team that won 9 consecutive leagues, and Inter were miles away from them. Then since Conte took over, they gained ground, and Juventus, obviously, with changing Sarri, with Pirlo, now with Bacco Allegri, they couldn't have that continuity of a technical project. And I think that's what is the main difference so far. Inter has an identity. Inter knows how to play. Juventus are still looking for it, although Allegri is sure Juventus are going to challenge him for the title in the next 2 years. Well, that sounds like a lot of time for a team like Juventus. I think Juventus so far away from home recently doing better, so they are improving, of course. I think once Allegri abandoned the idea of a midfield 4 and playing more with 3 in midfield, that's helping more. But I think, again, it's the key man for Juventus could be somebody like Arthur. They need somebody who organize the play and not leave everything in the feet of Locatelli. But away, they've been doing better, as I said. 20 goals scored in the league, so not a bad tally. And in the big games, they only lost away to Napoli and Chelsea, but let's not forget that they drew with Inter, they won a Lazio, they won a Rome, although probably they didn't deserve. So, never underestimate Juventus for this one. As I said, the firepower that these two teams have could suggest that it's going to be a high-scoring game. So I went for an over 2.5 goals overall, but my second tip could be over 1.25 goals in the first half, 233, so very good odds. That means if there is only one goal, you lose half a stake. If there is more than one goal, you win 233. Someone was asking how seriously are they going to take? Extremely seriously, because as I said, it's the first trophy of the season. For Juventus, it could be the only trophy that they win this season. And it's a derby d'Italia. The history between these two teams go back years and years. It's the biggest rival in Italy. It's a game that no one wants to lose. Yes, they will probably make a couple of changes in the formation because obviously Juventus have got injuries. Maybe Inter will rotate. We'll see Dzeko starting. He recovered from COVID. Çalhanoğlu is going to be back. Maybe there could be a change in the back 3. But this is an extremely serious game for them. And of course, it's massively important for both teams.
All right, Inter, they are playing against Atalanta away in the weekend. It's going to be easier for Juventus playing at home against Udinese. Then, Danny, you expect goals. Do you have any other tip for us for this?
I think considering Inter favorites, it's right. I mean, Inter is gonna have the ball more than Juventus, I think, especially in the first half. Is it going to start strongly? You could go for the corners market, for example. Inter are the second team in Serie A for corners taken. Juventus are the 10th. Inter are the first attack in Serie A. Juventus are the 11th. So, these are numbers that should point you to where to bet. If you think Inter are going to start well and they're going to be favorite, you could go for an Asian handicap minus 0.25 in the first half. I mean, look, I'm being cautious here because, same with the previous tip, the Asian handicap minus 0.25 means that if they draw, you lose half of your stake. So as my previous tip, over 1.25 goals in the first half, you still have a little bit of a parachute. If you bet 1 unit, you only lose half a unit. But if you think Inter could win this game, it would be by scoring early. And by scoring early would probably mean winning the first half, as they were doing in the league, as they did it in the last meeting in the league here when they won 2-0, for example.
Many people are suggesting both teams to score. 50% of the games of Inter this season ended in both teams to score. Half of them. For Juve, even less, 44. So be careful with these stats. And if we check the head-to-head between these two teams, 64% of the games ended in both teams to score. I hope we see a very good game in this Inter Juventus. Danny, we can jump into Coppa Italia, but some people are asking us about a tip of tonight's game. Cagliari Bologna. We escaped it in our last video because it was going to be suspended, but you also published a comment. I'm sure you have a tip for
we didn't think the game was going to go ahead because Bologna were stopped by the health authority in Bologna, in Emilia-Romagna, because of the numerous COVID cases they had. So the game against Inter wasn't played, but the game against Cagliari is going to go ahead tonight, 2 days after than it was scheduled. Bologna still going to have a lot of absentees. I think they only have 14 first-team players available. Mihajlovic complained a lot about it. And despite Cagliari being in a bad form, despite Cagliari only having won 2 games so far this season, both against Sampdoria. How strange is that? I think Cagliari should be favorite for this one. So my tip was be cautious and go for an Asian handicap of 0 for Cagliari, which doubles your stake, or at least last time I checked, but it should be around 180 or 190 the Asian handicap 0 for Cagliari. So if Cagliari does not lose or draw, you get your money back. If they win, you win 180 with the Asian handicap 0.
Yeah, we can check right now the odds, and it's quite high actually for Cagliari to win, around 3. Bologna, they are still favorites if they are even with the absentees and playing away. And the last question about this game, Danny, under or over? Andre just is asking you.
Under 2.5 goals. Yeah.
All right, Danny has predictions. He knows everything about Italian football. So continuing with all the games, all the mixed games that are taking place in Italy in this midweek, we go to Coppa Italia, and this is kind of weird because the games are going to be played mixed half this week, and the next the remaining ones, the next 5, the following week. So on Wednesday we have Atalanta Venezia in Bergamo, and Atalanta, they will come into this game, of course, with the morale high after that victory against Udinese, Danny, and Venezia, they lost. They should focus in Serie A, and probably in these Coppa Italia games, we have to take in consideration if it's important for the clubs or not. I'm sure Venezia, they are going to think way more in Serie A, whereas Atalanta, like last season, they put a lot of effort in Coppa Italia because it's a way to win a trophy.
Yeah, it's extremely important for Atalanta. They reached the final twice in the last 3 years. They take it seriously. Coppa Italia, I know they're going to play Inter on Sunday. There might be a couple of rotations. I think they got a couple of players suspended because they got sent off in the final against Juventus. I think Ilicic is suspended. I think also Palomino. So check the lineups. But Atalanta, 6-2 against Udinese, but it was a depleted Udinese because of the COVID cases. They had to play some young players that never played in Serie A before. So it is a game that was a little bit farcical. But anyway, Atalanta did well. You can only beat what you got in front. Atalanta home form, it's bad. They're 12 in the home table in Serie A. They lost 3 games in Serie A, plus they lost to Man United. They drew against Man United. They lost to Villarreal. They conceded 15 in the league. So when Atalanta plays at home against a good side, a side that attacks, you can always go on the both to score. However, they are the third best attack in Serie A. Let's not forget, in November, these two teams met and it finished 4-0 for Atalanta. There was absolutely no game. Both to score. 75% of Atalanta games at home this season have a both to score, because yes, it is a team that always has the same problem. He leaves the door open far too much, at the back, a bit naive. They make mistakes of concentration, of focus. Sometimes they push too high with the line. Yes, they are a team subject to concede a few goals. Venezia plays Empoli at the weekend, another important game. They got 4 more points above Cagliari in the relegation zone, but they haven't won in the league since the 21st of November. And I look at the stats against the top teams in Italy. So far, they have conceded 17 goals against the top teams in Italy. They managed to draw against Juventus. They managed to beat Fiorentina early in the season, but Fiorentina away a bit poor, we saw yesterday. So yes, massive underdog for Venezia. I think actually the odds for them 10 to win is even too low. I would say I could expect Atalanta to score a couple, and I could expect Atalanta to maybe score a couple early in the first half. So you could go again similar to the tip I gave before for the Super Cup. Over 1.25 goals in the first half, 202. So if there's only 1 goal in the first half, you only lose half your stake.
If someone likes both teams to score, odds are around 2 after the stats you show. Also, like more of 75% of the games of Atalanta this season ended with both teams scoring. The most interesting game in Coppa Italia in these midweek games is Napoli-Fiorentina. I'm quite surprised, Danny, to see these odds for Napoli. It's true that they are playing at home, but it's also true that they struggle a lot in the Diego Armando Maradona, as we saw again in the weekend against Sampdoria. The last 5 games for them were under 2.5 goals, but Fiorentina, they are always very leaky. They usually score. They didn't do that at Torino. What can we expect in this Napoli-Fiorentina?
Okay, let's talk about Fiorentina, then we go back to Atalanta because I got another tip, but we can leave it to the end. Napoli-Fiorentina, this is a tricky one, I think, because Napoli will be without many players due to injuries. Maybe they get Fabian Ruiz back, but it is a team that has been depleted by COVID, by injuries, got 5 or 6 starters, including Zamboanguissa, who's on the Africa Cup of Nations, Osimhen, etc. 2 wins in a row, 1 win and a draw in Turin, but it felt like a win almost, a 1-1 in Turin for the way they played. And, against Sampdoria, 1-0, they scored early in the first half. No saves for Ospina, despite playing with a makeshift back four. The Fazi Goulam is playing in pretty much 2 full games, and he hasn't played for months. So yes, really drawing up to all the resources that Spalletti have. This is the best defense at home with 7 conceded. But for this one, you also have to look at the stats. So when they played in the Europa League, because, you have to think about, are they going to make changes potentially? So these type of players, for example, in the Europa League, conceded 5 in 3 games. They qualified in the end with a trailing 3-2 to Leicester. The problem with Napoli is that since Osimhen has been out, they haven't been scoring many goals. Only scored 3 in the last 5 games. They will be without Koulibaly. Koulibaly and Rachmani, a very good partnership at the beginning of the year. Since they lost Koulibaly, they have been conceding a few goals more. I know the defeat against Spezia, for example, was very unlucky. The one against Empoli as well. But, for a team that doesn't score much, sometimes it only takes a goal to lose the game. Only 2 clean sheets at home in the last 8. They got Bologna away on a Monday. Then they play Salernitana at home. Again, this is a game that is important for Napoli. Where the goals might come, we'll talk about Fiorentina in a minute, but where are the goals might come? The goals might come, for example, in the second half, when the game opens up a bit more. So over 1.5 goals in the second half. That's a 195 odd for you. So imagine both teams will be desperate to avoid the extra time, I think, at this stage of the season. So that's where the goals could come. But you also have to keep in mind Napoli have been playing the same 11 for 2 games in a row. Fatigue might come. Fiorentina, as long as it's not the Fiorentina that we saw yesterday at Torino, we talk about it in a moment, Fiorentina could exploit some spaces there.
Fiorentina, they went out last season in Coppa Italia in penalties, actually, in extra time as well, against Inter. Marco is going for half-time, full-time for Napoli. Both teams to score and plus 2.5 goals for Blue Shark. Don't pay that much, actually. Over 2.5 goals is 1.8, actually, 1.8 over 2.5 goals. So the bookies expect goals. And Danny, the bookies expect goals because Napoli, they don't score a lot in the last weeks, but with Fiorentina, they are very leaky, as they show against Torino, and many times also they score a lot because they have Vlahovic.
Horror show yesterday at Torino, which, by the way, we predicted well. They almost didn't have the ball in the first half. Torino was pressing them so high, were suffocating. They were 3-0 down after 30 minutes, and they basically didn't have the ball. Vlahovic, I think, is still in Bremer's pocket. He doesn't touch the ball. What a monster game from Bremer. And, Vlahovic really, really suffered the man marking constant, but that's what Torino does to you. Now, is Napoli going to be so aggressive and pressing so high? It's a different type of play, the way Napoli does. They wait a little bit more, then obviously they're a bit better with the ball and with possession. Fiorentina, unbeaten in the last 2 away games in Serie A, but before they collected 4 consecutive defeats in Serie A, so their away form is poor. Only 1 away clean sheet this season, and we saw it against Torino also. Lots of individual mistakes at the back from players that you wouldn't expect, such as Martinez Quarta or Milenkovic. Now, this is a trophy that Fiorentina should target. Is a team that hasn't won anything since ages, since 2001, if I'm not wrong. That was a Coppa Italia with Mancini as a manager and Toldo in goal. Maybe this could be a game to give a debut to Jordan Icone. Very exciting signing. Many will see again Piontek, who signed again from Hertha Berlin, go back to Fiorentina after his unlucky spell at Milan. So it is a signal that the team is strengthening. Next up for Fiorentina, Genoa home, should be easy. Cagliari away, a bit of tricky, but again, I think they could target this trophy. I don't think Napoli, especially at the beginning, are gonna press Fiorentina that high. Maybe there is a chance for Fiorentina to move the ball well, and they've been doing well so far this season. So I'm gonna go, maybe that could be a surprise, this one. Fiorentina Asian handicap plus 0.75, which pays 192. Now let me explain. What does it mean? If Fiorentina draws, you win the stake. If they win, you win the stake. If they lose only by 1 goal, you lose half your stake. So a low win for Napoli, 1-0 to 1, you only lose half your stake, and basically you have got chances to winning up to the very end. Is, as I think, Fiorentina not gonna get trashed this time.
Okay, you have some hope then in this Fiorentina game in the Diego Armando Maradona. Danny, then I cut you before. You had another tip for us in the Atalanta Venezia.
Yeah, just consider Atalanta is the team with the highest possession in the opposition half in Serie A against Venezia. The lowest possession is opposition half. Atalanta in Serie A almost twice as many corners than Venezia. Venezia, the second worst attack of Serie A. So I'm going to go for an Asian handicap corner for Atalanta Venezia, minus 3.5, which pays 210.
Great. I have to say, Danny, that I don't like this format of Coppa Italia after what we see in the FA Cup, in France, in Spain, a little bit also in Germany. It's very nice when we see all the teams in the same pot, and whatever has to happen, we see top teams playing against lower teams, and at least everything also in the same weekend or even in the same day in midweek. But this Coppa Italia is a bit weird. As I said, we only have 3 games in this week, 5 the following one. So we have 1 left. in this case is Milan, Genoa, or Shevchenko. Going back to Milan, to San Siro. They played actually in early December and Milan won 0-3. Probably we should see something very similar or maybe even worse for Genoa, Dani, because Milan, after the European cow, I guess they should target this Coppa Italia to touch silverware, and Genoa for sure, if they have stamina, they have to focus absolutely in Serie A to stay away from the relegation.
Absolutely. I mean, Genoa so far, the experience of Shevchenko and Tassotti, former Milan defender as well, with Shevchenko second, Genoa has been appalling. They were appalling against Spezia. I thought they were going to win. They let me down. But, Spezia had the best chances. They were better on the pitch tactically. They could have scored a couple in the first half. Really, Genoa didn't offer pretty much anything apart from the only player that does something is Destro up front. He couldn't find the net this time, and they didn't score. They only scored 4 goals, including the game in Coppa Italia against Salernitana, in 9 games that Shevchenko have been in target. But if you look at in charge, but if you look at the numbers of shots on target, it's sometimes even less than 1 shot on target per game. Milan in the league have scored 26 more goals than Genoa. So that's already a great stats. And, Milan had, of course, I mean, it's a stronger team than Genoa, but you wouldn't expect Genoa to be so poor. 21 goals conceded from Genoa away from home. Maybe they should get everyone fit for this one. I know they've been plagued by injuries, but they are 4 points behind Venezia. And the next 2 games for Genoa are important. Fiorentina away, as we said, and then Udinese at home before the break. I can't see Genoa really putting their minds into this one. They need to get saved. They got a new investor, a new owner, American owner. Obviously, they want to retain the Serie A this season and then build. This is just a nothing game for Genoa. The odds for them to win to 11, again, I think they're even too low against a very good Milan team. I cannot see any other winner than Milan. Obviously, the odds for Milan to win are too low. So go on the half-time, full-time market and go for Milan. Go for the onside, and you get twice your money if that happens.
I think everyone here is expecting Milan to thrust Genoa. Hiran is telling us Milan gonna rip off Genoa. We are kind of sure about that because especially Genoa, they are playing against Fiorentina and they need to react in Serie A. Dani, also perhaps we can see the Asian handicap market for this game and the line, so odds around 2. We have it in Asian handicap minus 1.5 for Milan. We can expect, I guess, Milan to win by 2-3 goal difference easily.
It is a re-energized Milan in the last 2 games since the new year. 6 goals. The contribution of Leao is so important on the left-hand side. What a season he's having. What a year he's having, 2 assists, 1 goal, really, really well playing at Venezia. And also Theo Hernandez playing behind him is benefiting from that as well. Now he's playing well. He went through a bad form in December, already 4 goals this season for Theo, 2 at Venezia, of course. It's a Milan that is better overall. They were unlucky with injuries in October, November. They missed first Rebic, Leao, a bit for Ibrahimovic. Then they obviously missed Chiero, is out for the season. And now they are without Tomori, maybe will be back. But despite that, playing with Gabi and Kalulu, a centre-back, 6 goals scored, 1 conceded. So again, it has to be said that the team spirit of this Milan and the way Pioli, is instilling the belief in the team, it's remarkable. They are chasing Inter 1 point behind. The derby is at the beginning of February. So yeah, this is a good time for being a Milan fan for sure, and also to see them play at home because they are the second best defense at home in Serie A with only 9 goals conceded. In the league, as you said, they won comfortably at 3-0. They play Spezia at home on Monday, so I'm not sure they're gonna make too many rotations, but surely we'll see some of the players that play a little bit less. Maybe we'll see Krunic, we'll see probably start for Messia. Who knows? Maybe Rebic is fit to play. Tomori, as I said, I can't see them really conceding in this moment. Magnan is in good form as well, the keeper. Milan to win, of course. Milan to win 2-0, 2-10. That's the tip.
Pays even a little bit more than Milan half-time, full-time, and Genoa, they don't score a single goal unless Destro is on the pitch, and even if he's on the pitch, they don't score. They struggle a lot. Angela is going for Milan to win and over 2.5 goals for this game from Tanzania, by the way. Hello, Angela.
I hope you're enjoying the Africa Cup of Nations.
Exactly. Danny, I guess, do you have any more tips for us?
No, the tips are over, but we do have the ACCA. We do have
an ACCA, because why not? We have 4 games. Perhaps we can put them together and get more money.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go with the ACCA. Atalanta to take the lead against Venezia. Fiorentina has an handicap +1. So again, if they lose by 1 goal difference, you have to take that out of your ACCA, but you don't lose your ACCA. Milan to win the first half against Genoa, and Inter Juventus, as I said before, both teams to score, and these are high odds, I think, for 4 games, 11.64.
As we analyze, I think we have good odds in these midweek games, Danny, to put some money and wait, of course, for Serie A the following weekend. We have the 22nd match day. We will analyze it later in the week. Danny, thank you very much. See you again. Good luck for Inter Juve in this Supercoppa Italiana, and thanks everyone also for watching. Don't forget to tell us your result for that game or whatever you want to tell us, but of course we want to know what you think about Inter Juve, and also press the like button and subscribe. Danny, see you soon. Thank you.
A pleasure. See you soon. Ciao.